4, 3, preparing to live stream the meeting, preparing to setting up, and we are live. Hey, everybody. This is your host, Andrew Benjamin. You are watching and listening to the We Are Rizin podcast. I think I'm joined by my babysitting co-host, Jay Christian Gary from Focus Fights. Maybe? No. Oh, okay. Sorry, Chris. But hopefully Chris will be present with us in some way later on. Until then, we got with us special guest, Daniel. I'll call you the Polish hammer, Daniel from Poland. I always butcher your last name, so I don't want to mispronounce it and feel bad.
Okay, understand, and no problem. It was really hilarious that the Polish hammer nickname. I would not create it in my head.
I think Jan Blachowicz has made that kind of a little bit of a meme right now after saying that I think he wanted to trademark that nickname for himself.
To be honest, I don't know if the legendary Polish power is some kind of like a trademark. I know that Jan had just nickname called John. Because yes, and then he hadn't any nickname for a long time, and the legendary Polish power appeared when he started to conquering the UFC.
Oh yes, the Polish power. I think that was it. The Polish hammer.
That's good.
Sorry.
That's good.
Okay.
Sounds really nice.
I'm surprised if it's not taken already. It's got to be that there's no an MMA fighter from Poland who does not have that name or that nickname. They should immediately steal it because it's a very cool nickname.
Polish hammer. I don't remember really.
But first of all, I know that you're kind of not caught in the middle of things that are going on in Ukraine, Russia, but it's very close geographically. So hopefully I say hopefully you, family, friends, anybody who you know, yourself in that region, hopefully everybody's safe and unharmed right now.
Yeah, this is true. Not very calm in our neighbors' territory, but we all hope that it will finish soon.
Oh yes, hopefully. What a show that just finished recently, I won't say soon, was a Rizin Trigger second from Ekopo Arena in Shizuoka, Japan. This past weekday, not weekend, as most of the Rizin shows have been. So Daniel, you were one of the few non-Japanese people who was watching it live. What time did it air in your time zone?
It started at 6 a.m.
Okay, so that wasn't as bad for you. Where for us, it started at 12 and then went on to about 5 a.m. on the East Coast.
You know what? In terms of starting the shows in Japan, usually Rizin was starting at 3 p.m. Japanese time. But since 2020, they have started to start their shows a bit earlier, usually 1 hour earlier than usual, than in, for example, 2019. So majority of the shows of Rizin starts at 2 p.m. Japanese time. So we have to get up an hour earlier.
Okay, so
or you are starting watching 1 hour earlier in your time zone.
Is that how most MMA shows? I mean, UFC starts around whatever time, 6 o'clock here, usually United States. Was this time unusual? Was this kind of how Europeans have to deal with all these times when these shows go up?
Yes, UFC has awful start time for a European because usually the cards from Las Vegas, the main cards from Las Vegas, starts at 4 a.m. So you have, if you want to watch the whole card, you have to stay up to 7 a.m. and then go to sleep probably.
Okay, I see. Yeah, one of the things I always hear about that Europeans, any sports show in the United States, sometimes overseas, they're like getting up at like 6, 5, 7 a.m. to watch it. That's a complaint I always hear from people, especially in the UK.
Yeah.
What did you think of this show overall, Rise and Trigger Second? It wasn't their biggest show. What did you think overall?
Overall, it was not that kind of fireworks show like we had at the first Trigger, but I have a theory about Trigger. That this card won't be stacked cards, and all the things about the level, the names, the quality of names, even the number of MMA and kickboxing fights, everything will be depending on the local market, because the first Trigger had a bit better names, but it was in Kobe. So the Kansai area is really close. Kansai, so Osaka, so lots of really, really good names. This is a very deep local market, yes. Osaka, Kanto, and right now we had a show in Shizuoka prefecture, so it isn't that deep local market like Kansai area, like the south of the Kyushu, Honshu island.
It's funny, you keep on saying deep. You said deep twice, and to me, this was like almost a deep show. Like
yeah.
In fact, one of the fights was almost, it was kind of like deep adjacent. The Uchiyama Kotetsu Hara fight was supposed to be on the Shitaro Iwatari retirement show, but then got canceled. And so they had it on this. But yeah, this was you say deep. A lot of these fighters came from deep kick, deep Hamamatsu,
yes.
Impact, whatever.
It is an accident.
Yes.
What I wanted to say that it was a second show in Shizuoka Prefecture, because Rizin 21 was in Hamamatsu. Hamamatsu is quite a close city to the Fukuroi. I was even once in Shizuoka Prefecture, because I went to the football match in Iwata. Iwata is the city where the Bonsai Jiu-Jitsu is based. So if you want to go from Tokyo to Iwata, you have to go more to the south or to Hamamatsu, and then go back couple of kilometers to Iwata. That's just by the way.
What do you think of them using the cage for Trigger events? Since as of now, I don't know if they're going to use the landmark or they're going to do like combined ring cage thing. But what do you think of them using the cage? Are you a fan of it? Not a fan of it? Any thoughts on that?
No.
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
Japanese are doing good thing with a cage. If they are using the cage, this cage isn't too big, and I think this is the main factor about if the cage sucks or not. Honestly, because I could not, imagine the show in Japan with the dimensions of the UFC cage or even Bellator cage. The Bellator cage is bigger than a full-sized UFC octagon. So it was some graphic on Twitter, but I couldn't find it now or later. But this is the fact that Bellator's cage is bigger than the UFC full octagon, and as I said. Cage was not too big, and it was a really good thing for the show and its level and level of fun.
Mhm.
And this is a bit like a throwback to the Dreams cage, but it's a bit different construction because okay, this is the hexagon as well as in Dream was, but it has not a mesh that space material that the fence was made of, but it was normal standard metal fence. So I think this is a brand new construction, not a construction from the Keiichi Sasahara's basement or garage.
And the last time, the Trigger show, the first Trigger show, I believe they used it. They borrowed the deep cage because they didn't have this cage constructed in time.
Yes, definitely. I think that they've borrowed the cage from the Saiki.
So let's talk about the first match. A gentleman who you are very familiar with from KSW, Kleber Koike, as you can see in the back of my photo, winning submission, no surprise, over Oka Sasaki. I'll say this though, when we did our preview show, I initially thought that Kleber was just going to walk all over Oka, but that did not happen in the first round. It looked like Oka managed to rock Kleber a few times. It actually was, if it was a unified rules type of scoring, he was at least, you could say he at least won the first round, at least in my opinion. What did you think of Kleber in this match, Daniel?
I would like to say that it's not the first time that Kleber has massive problems with his opponent initially, but then he's able to take his opponent down, go to his back, and just finish the fight. So this is just this is just Kleber things, because he sucks. His stand-up sucks a bit. Hey, let's say this, he won't do stand and bank with, for example, Mikuru Asakura, even with Hagiwara. He would not survive the stand-up fighting with these guys, but he has a magical level of ground game, and lots of fighters that had trained with Kleber before in Poland says it that his jiu-jitsu is in a different level. It's from different dimension. But this is a new style of jiu-jitsu. It isn't based on I'm not a jiu-jitsu geek, so maybe I'm wrong, but it isn't about the maintaining the position, the being safe on the ground, but so I don't know if it was on Twitter or in Rizin Confessions, but someone called the Satoshi's grappling style neo jiu-jitsu, and Kleber has a really similar style to him. I think this is the same thing in terms of ground fighting, that they can submit their opponent really quickly and in a very unexpected way, so quickly, and this is the very sudden finishing techniques.
Also, what's very similar about both Satoshi, Kleber, both those guys specifically, is how aggressively they will try to get you down to the ground. If they don't get you down to the ground, they'll put you, like, very rarely in MMA, at least, does anybody like jump guard like Kleber did in this match. Very rarely it's ever done, because there's a risk of being slammed, being knocked out that way. But there's like the only two people who I see doing like standing grappling are like Kleber and Charles Dubronx Oliveira, who are just so strong both on the ground, but their ground game is so strong that they can adjust it so that they can even do it while standing up, whether that's like a standing back take or like jumping into a guillotine or something or along those lines. And Kleber is one of those guys who just has that down, like to like a science of how to get the opponent down to the ground and almost fool them into thinking that they're safe when they actually are not.
One thing is certain: if you're doing things like this, you have to be confident about your ground skills, confident as hell, no doubt.
I'm curious.
And he is very strong, and as we could see it in his all Rizin fights, actually.
Yeah. Here's a question I've been wanting to ask you, and somebody who's who been involved with KSW for a while. I never saw the match he had with Gamrot. That's his most recent loss from 2018. How did do you recall how he lost that match?
I think it was by a wrestling and ground position, but I'm, to be honest, I don't really remember this fight, and I think it was something like avoiding takedown and keeping the stand up, or it was more like being from the dominant position and just maintaining. But I think it was, but Gamrot was avoiding the ground action, and that's how he won. But I can't remember 100%.
Okay,
Maybe I'm wrong.
That's okay. That's okay. So based on this win, what do you think? So should Verizon, should he be the next #1 contender? Like, even if they do like a Grand Prix, do you think that he should at least get the shot before the Grand Prix? Or do you think they're gonna do a Grand Prix and he's, I don't know, if they do, I don't know if they'll do a Bellator style where the champion is also defending, because Rizin has not really done that. I don't feel like they would do that.
I think that the Bellator's style of Bellator's philosophy of involving champions in Grand Prix brackets, it's a bit problematic, because what's wrong about this philosophy? Champ is fighting in a 5 rounders, and in the same time he's participating in a Grand Prix. But the other competitors from the bracket fighting in a 3 rounders, and at the end of the day, the champ is who in theory goes to the final of the Grand Prix has 15 rounds. And his opponent has only 9 rounds. When we say if every bout was finished by the decision. Yeah. So this is, I think this is a bit wrong, and it favors the challenger and the second finalist of the Grand Prix. That's what is wrong.
Yeah, my big issue with that also is you risk. It's highly unlikely, but your title can change hands like over a half dozen times, and then like suddenly like you have like all these people that are like former title holders, and I don't think that's as likely to happen, but it's still a risk. It's really still a risk that you could potentially have 6 champions in one entire year. And so yeah, I don't if Rizin does a Grand Prix, I don't see them including whoever is the featherweight champion by the time they book it. I don't think that person will be involved with it. Yeah, but I mean, would you say that Kleber is definitely should get the title shot against Ushiku at whatever the next I guess number? I guess it won't be at 34. I'm guessing. But
you know what?
Yeah,
this is a bit hard question to answer, because I would like to see him in the Grand Prix. He deserves it, but he even deserves more the title shot, because you don't have a better contender in Rizin right now than Kleber. The next is Mikuru, but these two guys are in fact two the best fighters in the featherweight Rizin featherweight division. But that was some bad luck both for Saito and both for Rizin with that Ushiku fight.
Yes.
And right now they are in the really difficult situation. What to do? Because as you could see, Ushiku did not defend his title in December, and instead of this, he was fighting in deep. So we don't know when Ushiku will defend his title and whether he will be in the Grand Prix. In Rizin they have a problem to solve, and I think we will know what they want to do with this problem.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's funny. He deserves a title shot, and I also kind of want to see him in the Grand Prix as well. So it's a real stalemate. I mean, I think if gun to my head, I think he should get the next title shot. I mean, because if he's offered a spot in the Grand Prix, listen, he loses, and then suddenly he's back to square one, and then who knows when his next opportunity for a title shot will happen, and you never know. And that's the thing, it's MMA. You never know what's going to happen. So I think. Sorry, go ahead.
The other thing that is important are the dates, because they want to start the Grand Prix in summer. Right now we have February. The next fight, Rizin 34, will be in March. So you have April, May, and maybe June to do potential Ushiku's title shot. I doubt that will be the two title fights in featherweight until the summer, until the possible start of Grand Prix, but who knows? I would like to just also say that I think that we won't see the title fights in the green series and blue series, the Landmark and Trigger. I think the title fights are reserved only for red series, so numbered.
Oh yes, absolutely. No. I don't see him ever doing. The most I would maybe see for either green or blue would maybe be spots in in Grand Prix. That's where they'll have that's where they have if people who I don't know, maybe alternates, positions for alternates, maybe spots for alternates. That's but no tiles are ever being defended on a Landmark or Trigger show. I would be really surprised.
I think so. They can also make some eliminators at deep shows. Like Sengoku and Dream was doing it. Dream in deep, and Sengoku was doing the eliminators in Shuto, as I remember.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. The other big question I have for Kleber is, do you expect to see him return? He mentioned KSW, I think, in his post-fight interview. Did he? Is there any inkling of bringing Kleber back to KSW at some point?
I know that sports director of KSW said, but it was last year. It was in October or November. That they will want to bring Kleber back in KSW at some point when the situation with migration going to Japan, going outside the Japan will be more stable. But who knows how it will look like. They have expanded since this year the number of shows, and we have KSW each month right now, but the same as Rizin. in 2022 we will have 15 to 17 shows. Right now we had one, we have two scheduled, but until the end of the month, that will be just 3 events of Rizin. So they will have to, you know, pick up the pace.
Gotcha. The other big question I have for you is Ulka Sasaki. This is his second loss at featherweight. And I don't, you know, it seemed like he was dead set on staying at featherweight and Rizin. What do you think? I mean, I'm not gonna say you should hang it up. I think that's very presumptuous to say. But what do you do with him now that he's 0-2 in featherweights?
What should be next for him?
Yeah, would there be a fight in mind that you would have for him, or I don't know, should he consider going back down to 135, even though he seems like he doesn't want to?
Ulka just said that going up with a weight category is better for his health. From what I understood and from what I remember, so I think he will be staying at the featherweight at least for our next 1, maybe 2 fights. If everything will be wrong for him, maybe he will be back in bantamweight. But so far, the first round of the clash with Kleber was very good for him, but he did a mistake that Kleber used to use, and he used his jiu-jitsu, and Ulka finally tapped. But he looked very good. But we know how Kleber is fighting and how awesome his jiu-jitsu is. So
exactly. I do have somebody in mind later when we get to that fight. What you could do with Volka. But once again, another submission win by Kleber, and this will not be the last submission win. I guarantee we see this year, especially if he's in the Grand Prix.
Yeah, I think so.
Co-main event: Kazuma Kuramoto destroying Kenji Kato for basically 4 minutes, and man, Kuramoto is something else, man. This guy is become one of my favorites just because he's like a rhino. He just never stops, and he doesn't, not a moment to let the opponent breathe or himself even stop. What do you think of this match?
As you said, he has a very explosive style. If he can use his explosive style, because in his match with Alan Yamaniha just controlled the fight, controlled the Kuramoto. The Kuramoto wasn't able to make the 100% performance of himself. So it was a very hard fight, but as we seen it in his Rizin debut with Taiyo Nakahara, and we saw it with Kenji Kato, if opponent will allow him to be the best form, he's really a killer.
Also got to mention for that fight that you mentioned against Yamaniha, Kuramoto got his eye injured in that fight, which clearly disabled him I think it happened in the first round. So that's why that fight really did not go in his favor at all. So take that into account as well. Also, I gotta give him credit. I don't think I've ever seen a side suplex from side mounts ever done in a major MMA fight before. And Kuramoto did tell me he wanted to do a super secret suplex. I don't know if that was it, but I never saw someone pick up their opponent from side mount and then just slam them on the ground. As far as I know.
Yeah, this is just a wrestling things, especially in Japan, that fighters are used to be a bit more unorthodox than in the Western seen. So we could say and we could see some tricks, wrestling tricks of Kuramoto. Kuramoto, who is not very young, he has 30, I don't know, 6 years old, he is 37, something like this.
He follows that tradition of wrestlers who start MMA late, like Daniel Cormier, yes. Randy Couture.
Yeah.
Funny. That's funny.
But,
I just funny.
Heavyweights has its own, I don't know, rules. Yeah. It's in every sport, because you can be at the top level in heavyweight, light heavyweight, stuff like this. In MMA, in kickboxing, if you see on the Glory roster, you have Overeem, you have Badr Hari, you have Rico Verhoeven, but Rico Verhoeven is now 33 this year. So, it's definitely different thing that the lower weight categories. But, as you said, this is some kind of continuation of the tradition. But from the other hand, I don't know how old is Shinobu Ota.
I think Ota is in his 20s. I think he's 27, 28. I'll double check on that. It's funny because that's a fight. I don't know if you know this. Those two have history of each other. They fought in Greco-Roman, All Japan.
Oh.
And Kuramoto beat him. Ota is 28. So a little bit younger, about 7, 8 years to Kuramoto's senior. So I mean that to me is a fight, just because I don't know. I like fights, and I didn't know about this with Sasaki and Kleber, that they had a pro jiu-jitsu match many years ago. I never knew that until Rizin mentioned it in the confessions. And so I like matches where like there's like that past history in another discipline, and then they get to meet it. I don't know. I've always just been a fan of that. Like, oh, these two wrestlers who fought each other, in at all NCAA division, whatever. I always think that's interesting. I don't know what your thoughts are on that type of rivalry, but I've always been a fan of that stuff.
Yes, definitely it creates interesting storyline. It's better for everyone, and for Mr. Daisuke Sato, who is doing VTRs as well. Yes.
Credit to always Daisuke Sato. I mean, he didn't have to do a lot this time, only for the main matches, main event and co-main. But always credit to that guy. Makes amazing VTRs. Kenji Kato, though, this guy is perfect for trigger shows. I think this is a guy.
I think so. But Kenji Kato did some upsets in the past. From what I remember, he got knocked out by the guy who has problems with Crohn's disease. I have to just check.
I remember. Is that give me no, not Kintaro. I'm trying to remember the I apologize. I'm forgetting. I know that not
Oh, sorry, I've confused the fighters. It wasn't the person that I was thinking about. But yes, he beat Erson Yamamoto.
Mhm.
He also beat Katsuya Fujiwara at last trigger. So
Yes.
that was some kind of upsets, because we all know that in the clash with Erson, Rizin wanted to see him winning finally, but I don't know if he derailed the Erson's hype train. But it was an upset.
I feel like it's gonna sound really terrible. I think Erson kind of derailed the Erson hype train. I think that kind of is, just from the taking all those really tough fights, with Kron and Manel Cape, and then also just face in that fight with Kato, Erson just kind of Kato's a striker, and he's trying to stand stand and bang with him, and
I just reminded about the fighter who I was thinking of. It was Takaki Soya.
Takaki Soya, yes. I don't know what to deal with him. I haven't heard from him in a while. I don't know if he's still having issues or if he's retired. I don't think he's retired, as far as I know.
Yes, as I said, he had problems with the Crohn disease.
Okay. Well, I don't know if that's
so. Maybe there's a health problems. Very possible.
Yeah, I know. The problem with Ersan is that if you bring him in to fight any of these fights, the problem is that he really risks losing. The problem, he's got to go up against somebody whose skills are detrimentally lower than his in every way, striking, submission, all that stuff. Because the problem is that he's just he's still young. I still think Ersan needs more experience on the just in cage or in ring time, somewhere in deep or something like that, before coming back to Rizin, if he comes back.
My opinion with Ersan is that I'm not sure if Rizin tried to build him in a proper way, because as you will see, for example, in I think it was his first fight with Kron Gracie. So it was really high bar for him. So he had lots of. I think he had a couple of really tough challenges, and he lost it. And I think Rizin saw that they did something wrong with building the fighters, but it was one of the first guys that they wanted to build, but right now he disappeared from
I think the issue also is that he's an American. I think he's an American citizen. I know he was in his mother's corner when she had to fight against Reina. So I don't know if he's still in Japan or if he's back here in the United States. So I don't know exactly what his status is right now. And I don't follow him on Instagram. I don't see him in the Crazy Beef photos that they post after training. So I'm not so sure where his geographic location is anyway. If he's an American citizen, he's not going to be here like long term. So I don't know if that's also another issue, is just immigration.
I know that Miyu is a Canadian citizen.
Yes, I think Ersan was born in the United States. If I'm correct, I think he was. That's my belief, or at least as U.S. citizen.
And last last months he was Itsuki Hirata's boyfriend.
Yes. Actually, CJ reminds me that apparently they're like breaking up and like always like getting back together. Apparently he's more in tune with like that stuff. So I think that's what CJ mentioned last time when we talked to him a while ago. Next match, Akira Okada decisioned Takumi Suzuki, the one lone loss of the Banzai Jiu-Jitsu team on this show. Akira, also known as the Gorilla or the Muscle Gorilla, absolutely massive man. And so what do you think of this fight? What did this fight tell you about Akira, and what did this fight tell you about Suzuki, Daniel?
Okada is incredibly physically strong, and he shown this in this fight, and he shown his abilities during the challenge in Gym with Banana. I think you've mentioned it.
Yes, those are hilarious videos. Those are absolutely hilarious videos of where he's just these are on Shintaro Ishitari's YouTube channel, where he just has people punch him in the stomach, and while he's eating a banana, and like he doesn't feel a thing. He had Ren Hiramoto punch him. He had Ishitari punch him. He had Ken Hasegawa punch him. It was absolutely insanity.
Yes, it's a common, I don't know if it's drill, but common practice in kickboxing and Muay Thai clubs to just hit you in stomach, and it has to make your abs stronger,
Mhm.
and you have to be more durable after the series of this kind of exercise.
Yeah. No.
And about Okada and overly this fight, the first round. In the first round, I was thinking that it will be a next banger in of the night, but later Okada took the ground control and he shown his wrestling skills, and I think he earned a well deserved decision.
Oh no, absolutely. Yeah, it was definitely 3 rounds that he dominated. Suzuki is a like I said, is bonsai jiu-jitsu. And he even joked that he earned the nickname the decision maker because he won all of his fights by decision up until the Kitaoka fight in Deep. Um, Suzuki's he's an interesting guy. He's not if you watch his Deep stuff, he's definitely not a bad fighter. He's definitely somebody who I consider an all-rounder. I mean, lightweight is kind of, I don't want to say is a little bit of it's a little, the problem with lightweight is that I can, I guess if you wanted to do something with Suzuki, right now, if Yusuke Yachi doesn't have anything that got, it's an interesting to make from a stylistic point of view because you can kind of see clearly that Yachi and Suzuki are very much different people. I mean, what would you do with Suzuki, Daniel? If you have another fight with him in mind?
I think with Yachi it would be a fun scrap because Okada was simply too strong for him, and moreover the fight took place in a cage, so it also favored stronger Okada. So I think Rizin can try Suzuki's abilities once again. I wouldn't mind if it would happen.
I want to. I don't know. I'm curious to know what they will do with Akira next. Right now looks like lightweight probably is going to be, I guess, Johnny Case and Satoshi. Because Satoshi during the show went in the cage and said, "Hey, I want to fight somebody who's international." So I'm and that would be the fight to make. Whether it can happen is an entirely different story. It's yeah, I mean, if Satoshi doesn't get Case, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Akira already has 2 wins at lightweight. I mean, well, no, not 2 wins at lightweight, 2 wins in Rizin. His other fights that he won was at 170 over Abe, Daichi Abe. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
you mean the fight with Abe at the first trigger?
yes, yeah.
It was in lightweight. It was
Oh, that was
Abe's.
lightweight. Oh, I thought that was at welterweight.
Yes, but I believe that it was the Abe's debut in lightweight. His very first fight in this weight class.
Well, here's the other interesting thing as well that Suzuki mentioned. He said that he's not going to fight Satoshi, obviously, because that's his coach. Suzuki said that he wants to be the gatekeeper to people who want to fight. So if we're going by that logic, should Akira at all be considered, if they can't get Johnny Case for whatever reason, should they do Akira versus Satoshi for a number show?
Maybe it's too early for that kind of challenge for Akira, but maybe, Takasuke Kume, Koji Takeda, it would be quite interesting challenge for him. It's not the championship level right now, not yet for Okada, but maybe someone who is really good, some actual challenge for him. I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, well, hopefully that Case fight works out because that's the easiest fight to make. Chris, I see you're here. Are you all good and you all good and settled down?
Yeah, I'm all good and settled down. I was just
Okay.
wondering, what the hell did I miss?
We just got to the third fight. Do you have any quick thoughts on the main co-main and the Akira Suzuki fights?
Well, about the main event, which unfortunately I didn't get a chance to see because I crashed immediately after the VTR began for the main event.
That's
So I
totally
guess
fine.
y'all can make y'all dedicated fan jokes in the comments of the YouTube video, which of course nobody's really reading. I think you ignored a comment from June K talking about will Urson come back? I mean, will Urson Yamamoto come back? But still, though, when it comes to the main event, I thought that, I mean, Koike basically is destined for a featherweight title shot. I really think that he is destined for an opportunity to fight for the featherweight title because he's undefeated in Rizin for one. He just knocked off a former UFC star for two. And how the hell is he going to be stopped? I mean, you got Ushiku and you got Saito winning the featherweight title. If you want to prove that Koike isn't the weak link in Banzai Jiu-Jitsu, give him a damn title shot. And as far as the Akira Gorilla Okada versus who he fought in the main event? I mean, who he fought in the company?
Takumi Suzuki.
Oh yeah, Okada ran off on that boy and then ran out of the venue like he was trying to catch a charge.
I thought you were gonna say trying to catch a banana, a truck full of bananas.
Yeah, but I think he ran out there like he was trying to avoid the police or something. Still, point of the matter is, Akira Gorilla Okada is destined for the numbered shows for Rizin, if not destined for, more weird and wacky superstardom in Japan. I mean, especially considering the fact that, like a lot of these fighters, doesn't he have a YouTube channel?
Well, it's Shintaro. I think Shintaro. They do a lot of the K people do their stuff on a Shintaro channel.
Oh, right. I heard. So basically, he is on Shintaro Ishiwatari's YouTube channel because of who he trains under. But, after that after that win from Okada and the way he ran out the venue, I won't be surprised if we end up seeing more from him.
We have a June K says Akira versus Juri Ohara is a fight that he wants to see. Now that's an interesting fight to make. Juri's undefeated in Rizin also as well, so could be a good fight to make.
I mean, come to think of it, they're both lightweights. They both fight at 155 pounds, right?
Yes. Oh yes. And then you can have the winner of that, or somehow get Takeda involved if you can't get that fight worked out. Lightweights is the division that is second most interesting to me versus featherweight in Rizin. And now fight that we're gonna
Understood. And about Roberto Satoshi de Sousa fighting.
Oh yes.
Huh? Andrew, you were saying something?
Okay, I was just gonna go on to the next fight. But were you about to say?
Yeah, I was basically saying about Roberto Satoshi de Sousa wanting to fight foreign talent instead of going over to Bellator. I mean, I think it's only obvious that, he'll get that opportunity to fight foreign talent. But, I just hope that he gets past the people that want his belt. I mean, you got Luis Gustavo, you got Johnny Case, you got Damian Beatdown Brown, who willingly says he wants to come back. I mean, come to think of it, he's got a whole murderous row full of fighters wanting to fight him in Rizin for that lightweight belt.
Yes.
And I think that if Johnny Case doesn't get that first opportunity, somebody like Damian Brown or Luis Gustavo might.
Well,
let's be optimistic. Let's hope that there will be possible to bring foreigners rising, because in terms of lightweight, this is the really important thing, because as you could see in 2019, two Japanese represents two Japanese guys just ended their participation in the first round of the Grand Prix. Japanese lightweight isn't that strong as it was even in the dream days in 2008 when they started the 16-man Grand Prix. I don't even mention the Pride days when there was a purpose to match the Gomi and the Mach, who was at these days there was one of the most strongest lightweights in the world.
And you know what? Come to think of it, Daniel, and you're out there in Poland, obviously, which is in Europe. I think that the two main people that would probably want to come into Rizin from Europe are Marcin Held, who unfortunately is with that terrorist organization ran by that fucking commie sack of shit that I don't want to mention, and obviously Mansur Bonarwi, who is the most decorated fighter in Europe right now, as being a former M1 Global, Road FC, and Cage Warriors world champion out of France. So, I wouldn't mind seeing those two fight. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Marcin Held as soon as he gets out of that shitty contract with that shitty person, go over and fight in Rizin, and I wouldn't mind seeing Bonarwi fight in Rizin as well.
I don't know what's happening right now with Mansur. As you said before, Marcin Held has a valid contract. He's under contract right now, so no chance for him to go out. Go to Japan, but I think there are lots of fighters in Europe that they possibly could go to Japan and fight and maybe even win something.
Well, here's what I'm going to say about when it comes to foreign talent, and I know J Wolf's going to hate me. I won't believe it till I see it. Until then, it's mere speculation, unfortunately, at this point. Until we actually see, I see it in writing on a Rizin infographic.
You know what? Mm-hmm. I understand what you mean by that. I wouldn't mind seeing a fight card photo come out of Rizin. I mean, but you're basically saying a little too much. I wouldn't mind seeing it on a fight card graphic, so and so versus insert random Japanese lightweight fighter here. But yeah, I would not mind if Rizin reached into the foreign pot more, because obviously restrictions are lifted. But when it comes down to that actually happening, you're going to have to show me a damn fight card graphic, or show me the fighter getting on the scale on the way in order to make that a reality.
We got a comment from Jun K again, too. He says he might want to see Yachi versus O'Hara, too, because of brand new Yachi. Yachi 2.0, and then could be a pity for O'Hara, though. I don't know. Yeah, if you're O'Hara, do you take a fight that you already won? I mean, that's all entirely in O'Hara's court. And personally, if I'm him, I'm like, I already beat Yachi once. I don't need to do it again, even if it was a very close fight. Because O'Hara can only go up from here. Yachi is stuck right now after losing the title fight.
To think about the lightweights, I don't know if you saw this, but the brand new Yachi, who changed the club, he also changed his ring outfit, because right now he wears black trunks instead of yellow as he was doing before, and he even changed his walkout music. It's not a soul scream anymore, but something different that I don't even know the title or the artist, and it's a.
You know what? All I gotta say about that is, if I find the link to the actual song that he's been coming out to recently, I'll send it to you in the DMs on Twitter, Daniel.
Oh, okay, that's great. That's
I'll
great.
just say this.
And I would like to say also that it's quite popular thing in Japanese combat sports because Rena went out to the ring in a black outfit with a bit different walkout music. I think it was the rematch with Kana Sakura.
Yeah, a lot of people remember the entrance that she had with the rematch with Asakura. She came out to something similar to pro wrestling legend Masahiro Chono.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Only problem is that I feel like 2.0 is dead. Yashi has to come back as 3.0 since he built himself up as 2.0 for that title fight.
And speaking about the European prospects, I would like right now I would exclude any Russian fighters.
That too.
Because of the obvious reasons.
Yes. So So right now, Russian fighters not on the table. Well, we're gonna move on to the fourth fight. We'll probably talk longer than the fight.
Wait a minute. What happened in the third fight again?
That was Okada and Suzuki.
Oh, well, shit. Let's go ahead and talk about the fourth fight.
Yeah, so Sora Yamamoto, 35-second knockout, Seguro knee. Fucking amazing. It was brutal. Daniel, thoughts on this finish?
Definitely Kenichi Yamamoto-san is a fighter that I would love to see the next fights in in Rizin, and I hope that they have his the Shingo and Sakakibara has his name in the notebook, and they have a plan and some idea for in promoting him. For example, is because he is the son of the former UFC Japan tournament champion, the Japanese veteran Kenichi Yamamoto. So, and he's winning the fights. He's winning the fights in this fashion, as we could see. So yes, definitely this is a person that I would like to see in Rizin more and more, and I'm really interested about the potential storylines of him.
Now, here's the other insane thing as well. He's only 21, and all of his finishes but one. He's finished all of his fights but one. All the finishes have been in the first round except for one fight. So, and this guy is I think I hope that Rizin, I think he earned a spot in the featherweight tournament if they do have it. He certainly should definitely be in it. No ifs, ands, or buts. By the way, also funny enough that he's the son of Kenichi Yamamoto, also a pro wrestler, and this is unfortunately Knee is 0-2 against people involved in the pro wrestling industry. So so actually I was gonna suggest that Seguro Knee versus Oka Sasaki as a fight to make. Because
I mean, come to think of it, dude, don't you not like pitting losers against losers?
No, I do.
Of course you do. I mean, that fight would barely make any sense, but I wouldn't mind seeing it happen.
No, it makes sense because Oka lost his fights, Chris. Remember, Oka lost a fight, and I think if he wants to really see if featherweight is a division that he wants to stay in, he needs to fight somebody at least at a low. He's fought Poirier and Kleber and lost to both of them, and he's got to see where his skills are at when he faces somebody like a Seguro Knee, who's not a great fighter, but who can still pose a challenge. And then what
you're basically saying is a fight for Yuta Oka Sasaki against Seguro Knee is basically a gimme fight, right?
No, not even a gimme. Knee can win. he still has a potential. This is he's not 0-12. He's 12-12. He's still there's still a possibility that Ni can win that. And if Ni wins, that tells us more about Sasaki than I think Ni. It tells us that Sasaki may not be able to do featherweights like he thought. I don't know. Daniel, do you have any thoughts on that? Putting Sasaki against Ni as a potential way to see where Sasaki kind of stands in featherweights?
In with the intention of to give the Ulka a potential chance of bounce back to the winning side.
Yes.
With Suguruni, and only with this kind of idea for this and intention for this bout, I wouldn't see the bouncer Ni once again without any purpose, because he's not a fun guy, to be honest. He's just like a gatekeeper, more something like this. Yes.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of ironic, Daniel, that you say he's the gatekeeper, because of course when it came down to that fight, Yamamoto bounced Ni's ass like it was last call.
Yeah, I think so. But thanks to Suguruni, we could also see Daisuke Nakamura making flying armbar at a big show. So yeah, that's why he's great.
But come to think of it, that reminds me now of a question I would probably want to wait to ask, but I'm gonna go ahead and ask it anyways. Do you think that we might potentially see? I mean, because obviously we now know that Suguruni's losses are more exciting than his wins. Do you think that because of this, we might see Daisuke Nakamoto versus Sora Yamamoto, the battle of the U-File wrestler versus the former UFC champion and pro wrestler son?
That's also a potential fun fight. Lots of names was fighting since the pandemic starts. Rizin had to explore the very deeply their domestic market, and it was a chance to for many new names, and both the old names like Daisuke Nakamura to perform at the big stage. So right now there are lots of interesting potential matchups. I wouldn't forget about, for example, Hiroaki Suzuki, former One Championship title challenger in Muay Thai. We have lots of interesting matches to make. Alan Yamanicha, and lots of potential names to match up.
We got in the chat, Junkei, Ulka or Nikki versus Hagiwara. Nikki, do you mean Ni? Oh, Suguru Ni. Okay, my bad. I think Ulka versus Hagiwara is a bad fight to make for Ulka. That is not a good fight for him. Hagiwara also would have no incentive to take that fight, because I think right now I think that fight would be above him in terms of I don't see, like, if I'm Hagiwara, why do I take that fight? The knee fight, I don't know. I think that Ni is a gatekeeper. He's a guy that you have on a trigger show. That's a guy that you have when you want to give somebody else the rub, somebody who has, who's been a champion in another organization and who still has potential to win, but you obviously have your sights set on another fighter, on the other fighter that you're facing against him. I don't know. Right now Hagiwara's got Dominator next, and probably after that the Grand Prix, most likely.
I will tell you what I would like to see. I would like to see Kazumasa Sugawara once again, and I would like to see him against Daisuke Nakamura. Two crazy grapplers, and we could expect anything.
Well, hey, what about Kleber versus Nakamura?
Maybe a bit too early for
Okay.
dice. But I'm not excluding these things because as we could see both in deep because he knocked out Ushiku in their first fight. And also he made kind of a flying armbar against Suguruni. So
Yes.
despite his age, he is definitely a guy that he deserves to be once again on a big stage.
Yes, just a reminder, Nakamura does have a finish knockout win over Juntaro Ushiku. And even though Ushiku beat him in the rematch, it was very close, a very close split decision. So Nakamura has that. So, and also, by the way, congratulations to Nakamura on beating Omigawa by, what do you think? An armbar, of course. What else?
So basically, Omigawa didn't even get his farewell ending. I mean, his fairy tale ending.
Nope, and got beat by the guy who you think that Omigawa with a judo background would be the guy who armbars people, but no, turned out that he got armbarred by the pro wrestler, by the U-File guy.
Damn, that sucks.
Have you seen this show, Andrew?
I know I haven't. I'm gonna wait for Deep to upload it on YouTube. I'm really looking forward to watching that match, though.
Okay, I had a plan to buy this pay-per-view, but I was too busy. I was at work, so no chance to catch this show live. But like you, I'm waiting for a deep official YouTube channel.
Yeah. Now this next fight, this was one of the craziest fights I've seen this year. Kohei Tokeshi representing Myanmar and getting the win for that country, beating the aptly named Brazilian Harry Stallone. What a crazy this was. This
Andrew, you were only upset that Harry Stallone didn't come out to any Eye of the Tiger Survivor bullshit. Instead, he came out to a song from the Rocky movie trilogy or the Rocky movie saga.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember even that song being in that. It's been a while since I've seen Rocky, but
Dude, that song that he came out to was from Rocky fucking 4.
I don't care about Rocky 4. Rocky 1 and 2 are the only ones that exist in my timeline.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, he should come out to Eye of the Tiger, just to be cliched. But Daniel, thoughts on this incredible, bloody, brutal fight?
I think fights like this are a trademark of the landmark shows because you have guys with not very impressive records, but guys who want to give 120% and give unforgettable bloodbath. I would say in this case. But we couldn't see many blood, but yeah, it was really violent thing as we loved the first trigger because of that kind of stuff. It was lots of this kind of fights at the first trigger. Here, that was the Takeshi's fight that I would not say that it saved the show. Because not, but we all was talking on Twitter about this fight, and that, as I said, despite not a very great performance last time, not a very great record of both guys, but yeah, it was something to talk about.
Chris, you were definitely awake for this fight. What did you think of this banger?
It was pure violence on display, even though I kind of got stumped, in the prediction because I thought that Stallone was going to win this fight, but it turned out that the crazy Burmese Lutway guy had it in, and he was basically pounding out Harry Stallone for the entirety of that fight.
Well, no, remember, near the second round, Stallone kind of made a comeback. And I wouldn't say that he was close to winning, but that was the closest.
Yes. Shortly He was finished shortly after his comeback.
Yes.
So it tells you a lot of about this fight. My favorite, personally, my favorite moment was from the GIF that was on Twitter when the Stallone was in a turtle position and Takeshi threw the soccer kick.
Oh yes, and looks like he tried to hold on to Takeshi's ankle, but like Takeshi just like this beautiful spin out of it, like beautiful. It was I saw that, and then deliver a sock kick.
Takeshi is a perfect guy for a perfect fighter for this kind of format for the Blue Series. For the less known fighters, maybe with not the best records, not with the chance for fighting for a title, but very violent, very determined to just give a violent fight.
And interestingly enough, both these fighters, well, actually, they still both have under 500 records. So this was a fight where two guys with under 500 records were against each other. Which I'm not so sure, Daniel. What do you think about that? Showcasing fighters on a show like a Trigger who have those types of records. You think that that's the best time to have those guys on that show?
Yeah, I know that we had some fight that wasn't very spectacular. It was Takuma Uchiyama with Kota Tsuhara. But at the first Trigger, you had you had some of this kind of fight, and lots of them delivered actually, like the Takeshi and the Stallone. Everything is about smart matchmaking. Shingo is doing great work, especially if they created the idea of bringing Takeshi to Rizin with this kind of rules that he's doing great work, but I'm not sure about giving him more serious challenges in nearest future. If he will won couple of fights, maybe two, maybe next three, I think they will think about him as for the potential, maybe not title challenger, but potential, next name to bring to the highest to match him up with the higher ranked fighter.
Well, actually, that's funny you bring it up. So, and Chris, you're gonna like this. This fight suggestion was actually brought up by our good friend Amateur Bushido. He says he wants to see, get this, Kohei Tokeshi versus Tanner Ruenso next.
Oh, that would be a fun fight.
You remember especially Tanner, Daniel? Sorry, Chris. Do you remember Tanner Ruenso, Daniel, from the Okinawa show?
Yeah, I remember that because it's the guy who made a gi choke.
Oh yes. Oh, how can nobody not remember that? Oh, sorry, Chris. Go ahead. What do you think about that fight? Potentially.
That would be a fun fight because obviously Tanner Lourenco knows his way around guys who wear gis, which will probably be, a pure reason why many Japanese MMA promotions will never allow fighters to wear anything other than a rash guard on top again. But even that will be banned. But still, though, a Tanner Lourenco versus Kohei Tokeshi fight would be fun just because of the action in the ring or in the cage alone. Especially considering the fact that Tanner is a submission expert. We know this, right, Andrew?
Oh yes.
And Kohei Tokeshi is very violent and very crazy, obviously doing left way and Muay Thai. So, that would make for a fun, violent fight.
But also because
I just don't know if it'll translate well to the pre-fight hype.
Well, I think it's a stylistic. I like the stylistic disparity between it. The submission guy versus the Muay Thai striking left leg guy. And I would assume, I don't want to know that, they're both, their skills are excelled in one specific discipline. And I think those fights can be very interesting versus, two people, sometimes, two people who are grapplers don't grapple, they strike, or two strikers grapple. Sometimes that happens. But with people who have two, that are so different in how they fight, I think that's an incredible fight to make. Hopefully though, if that fight happens, Takeshi, do not wear a gi. Harry Stallone, Daniel. I know he's always on deep shows whenever they're in Hamamatsu. What do you think? You think Harry Stallone can be a guy that's on a trigger show, or do you think, I don't know. What do you think can be done with him?
I don't have much ideas what to do with Harry Stallone, but he's the next fighter, I would say, designed for the trigger shows, but I'm not sure if they will bring him once again. But after this fight, who knows? He got beat up, but he had his great moments in this fight. So I can't tell you directly about the Lourenco against Tokeshi. From the other hand, I'm a little afraid if it wouldn't be a fight to the first takedown. And I'm afraid that Lourenco, after the takedown, would finish his work very, very quick. But who knows?
Don't forget, Daniel, there's soccer kicks. If he tries to go for a takedown, Takeshi can always block it and kick his head off.
Yeah, these things like rules changes a lot, and under unified rules, it wouldn't be a smart move. But as you said, maybe under the superior rules, as Jay Wolf usually saying, it would be better matchup and with a more sense.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with Harry Stallone. Chris, I don't know. You got any thoughts? Anything you do with him next?
Let him go back to deep. That's all that needs to be done. Either go back to deep or Heat or Tenkaichi fight. Unless he improves, don't bring him back in Rizin.
I have to agree. It might be a little bit different, now that that they kind of just get people that are only in Japan. But under any other circumstances, I don't know if I would invite him back. Now next, we're just gonna.
And obviously, let's just say he's a one and done, like how the college basketball system is in the United States. Let's just say he's a one and done. He had his shot. Now he's gonna have to sit on the bench for the rest of the time that he's a fighter.
If you let him go to deep, get a win or two, then maybe bring him back for another trigger show. That's in Hamamatsu Shizuoka area.
Yeah, because that's where all the Brazilians reside in.
Now, for time's sake, I'm just gonna bunch up all the kickboxing matches because I don't know if we're gonna have a lot to say on them.
Well, there was only 2 finishes out of the 5 kickboxing bouts, so why don't we talk about those?
Well, yeah, I'll give the results for all of them. We can just talk about those 2. Momota, Dr. Stoppage over Yudai Ito, Taiki Sawatani, beat Kota Nakagawa. Taiki defeated Masanari. Koki Takeuchi defeated Yuki Kitagawa, and the only other finish, heavyweight Ryogo, Mountain Ryogo, beat Sada Katsutoshi. Any thoughts on these fights, these kickboxing matches, Daniel, that happened?
Speaking about the usual Japanese kickboxing fights on Rizin, they are not below some level. They are always good, at least decent. Sometimes we have some more unusual things. I would say, more action. And rarely these Rizin kickboxing fights are not good. And I would say that the first 4 fights, which is more, regular Rizin kickboxing matchmaking plan because of the lower weight class, I would say it was good, but the best fight out of these 4 was Koki Takeuchi against Yuki Kitagawa. For Kitagawa, it was his second fight and second loss in Rizin, I believe. Because Ryugo against Mountain Ryuga against Katsutoshi Sasada was totally unusual for Japanese kickboxing, because simply it was a higher weight class. It was 100 kilo limit, so it speaks itself.
It definitely stood out. No, that definitely stood out among the kickboxing matches, because it's like, oh, a heavyweight kickboxing match in Rizin, nonetheless. Since there was,
and what was more interesting, it was some, a bit continuation of tradition of a kickboxing match, when the much older guy got beat up by a younger fighter.
Funny you say that, because Ryugo, he looks younger, he looks older than Sasada. So I thought I was like, oh, Mountain is older, is younger. He looks like he was 20 years older than Sasada. Here's the other thing.
He probably must have been fighting on one of those Grachon kickboxing shows.
Oh, well, all these kickboxers are all like from the Hoos Cup. That's where like all these like kickboxers have like some sort of connection to, or deep kick Hamamatsu.
Speaking generally about kickboxing in Rizin, usually it's more like a local game. Yeah, it's a sports. There's a sports more for local heroes, as we saw at last Trigger. From what I saw from announcements from Rizin 34, these are really good announcements in terms of Rizin kickboxing, but we are speaking about Trigger, and usually it was as usual, more local heroes, as you said, from Host Cup, and I would say at the end of the topic that the heavyweight kickboxing, or 100 kilo limit kickboxing, is a bit like a niche in Japan, so it's always good to see that it still exists.
There is the one guy who should get maybe some sort of notoriety is Taiki Matsui. He is definitely a young prospect, and I definitely know I've learned a lot about him through the people at Beyond Kickboxing and just stuff on YouTube. He's definitely somebody who I've heard is somebody to look out for in the future. Somebody that'll probably be on Rise cards. I don't know, maybe K1, who knows? But he's definitely somebody to look out for. Yeah, that's the one thing. Chris, I know we talked about CJ. We were not a fan that there was half the show was kickboxing, over half was kickboxing matches.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that, but you had 2 finishes. That was the beauty of it. You had a finish at the beginning of the card, even though it was a slow, steady clog toward boredom afterwards, until the MMA fights kicked us right back up. But, you had 2 finishes on the card, and obviously that heavyweight fight, which you, Andrew, were so hyped up over, Ryugo versus Sasada. I mean, obviously, I think it felt like, Rizin could have something when it comes down to heavier weight kickboxing, even though, unfortunately, if you want heavier weight kickboxing, you can't even go to K1. You would have to go to either Glory or that damned one championship.
Because what they always do is they get MMA fighters to do the kickboxing as well. That's the other.
Speaking
Yeah.
about heavyweight kickboxing in Japan, I said it's a bit like a niche, but from the other hand, K1 is doing the open weight heavyweight tournament one night at K-Festa 5. So it won't be very on a very high level of competition, but I think it will be very, very fun because there are potential lots of finishes.
Okay.
So
For time's sake, I'm gonna just bunch up the two bantamweight fights that we had. Hikaru Yoshino, who Chris we talked to, defeated Daisuke Endo, and Takuma Uchiyama defeated Kotetsu Hara, split decision for that one. Let's talk about Yoshino Endo. Clearly, this is the type of fight that when Sakakibara said, "Hey, we want young people versus veterans, all that stuff." This is this is like prime trigger type of a fight. Yoshino dominated basically all 3 rounds. What do you think of Yoshino's performance, Daniel?
I think this is one of the best single performance at this event. To call it perfect performance, I missed only a finish of this fight, but the dominance was very clearly. He's an explosive fighter, and I would definitely want to see Yoshino in the future fights, in the future Rizin shows, even in a numbered series, because it was he's definitely too good for trigger shows.
Chris, like I said, we talked to Yoshino. He said he was going to be what was it, a bad motherfucker?
Yeah, a badass motherfucker. Shout out to Grant Bogdanow for making that translation worthwhile, because a lot of people basically are gravitating towards the fact, and the Rizin English language Twitter account put this over, that he is a big fan of Khabib Nurmagomedov. He is a big fan of the former UFC lightweight champion of the world, so much so that he learned how to do, Sambo style fighting. And I think that's what propelled him to getting that win, and obviously getting a lot of fans domestically.
And we definitely saw the jiu-jitsu aspect. He didn't get the submission, but clearly he does have a submission game that he tried to apply in this fight. It was total dominance. I expect him to be back, especially, I think you said best, Daniel, on a numbers show. He clearly is somebody that Rizin they definitely want to, I think they're going to feature in a bigger spot in the future. Daisuke Endo, typical gatekeeper fighter. I think perfect for trigger. What do you think, Daniel?
I would like to say, as you said on the beginning about the talk about this fight, it was a scam, young fighter against older fighter against the veteran, and I think you're right. Endo wasn't able to win this fight, to make some really tough challenge for Yoshino, but they are in the totally different stages of their careers, and for Endo, I would see him once again, but only in a trigger show.
Yeah. And in fact, actually, Endo said that he didn't fight for 2 years because he was
2.5 year layoff.
Yeah, he was focusing on, apparently, I think he runs a gym, the Iggy Hands. I think he actually runs or owns it. So he was focusing more on coaching than actually fighting. So, whether he comes back or not, I don't know. But if he does, I think he's the type of fighter that you have for a trigger show. The other 135, like I said, Uchiyama over Hara, split decision. I thought that Hara won, but I think, Daniel, you thought that you had Uchiyama winning.
I would like to say something about just about Endo's performance. I would give him a props because in the first round he was in the crucifix on the bottom. and he was punished by a Yoshino's punch, and he was able to escape from this really difficult position. Lots of referees would even finish the fight, seeing that potential, seeing that the Endos was punished by his opponent from the top. Speaking about the next fight, so it will be Nakagawa against Kojima. Yes.
Well, I was gonna just do the other bantamweight fight just so we could get that over with. Uchiyama Hara.
Uchiyama Hara. Okay.
It wasn't the most compelling fight, like, but yeah, I mean, I think you said that you had thought that Uchiyama won when I said that I thought Hara won.
To be honest, I don't even remember that fight. I know that the first fight wasn't very. We are speaking. Okay, sorry. We are speaking about Uchiyama and Hara. It was not very.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
If you can't, I can't remember that much about it myself either. Just that I had Hara winning. I mean, Chris, do you remember anything about this fight?
Nope, not a goddamn thing.
Yeah, I mean,
no sense to talk more about this fight. Both guys are on the beginning of their careers. Moreover, it was not an impressive performance by both guys. I'm not even sure about if we will see them in the nearest future in Rizin.
I think they were going to try to bring Hara back because he's part of the cave gym, and Rizin loves those cave fighters. If you're with Triforce, the cave or Bonsai, you basically have an open door to Rizin at this point. Maybe even Smoker Gym, maybe. But yeah, I think Hara will come back. I don't know about Uchiyama. Well, actually, Uchiyama is Bonsai, so I could see them both coming back. I don't know what to do with them, but yeah, I honestly don't know. But yeah, let's talk about the 145. Kojima. Nakagawa being Kojima. Decision. Absolutely 3 rounds of domination by Koki Nakagawa, and also destroying my belief that if you're a tattooed fighter from outsider, you have the advantage. Anyway, so yeah, Danny, what do you think about this fight?
There was a moment for Kojima that he was trying to make a Kimura from the bottom, but he was in a bad position to do something with it. But it was a bit I don't know how to say. It was a bit one-sided match in terms of competition. But the Kojima's Kimura was his best moment in this fight.
Absolutely one-sided. Surprisingly as well, because when we were analyzing this fight at the beginning, or when we previous show, Nakagawa came to this fight with a losing streak of 2 fights, while Kojima was on a winning streak. I'm sorry, he was on a winning streak. I forgot. I don't remember how many, but it looked like the advantage would be at least on Kojima's side. Chris, thoughts on this 145 fight?
To be honest, I really didn't care much about this fight, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. And who won the fight again?
Nakagawa.
Oh yeah, Nakagawa definitely deserved to win.
My other big question, so Danny, with this fight, can you see Nakagawa being put in the 145 Grand Prix if they do have it? Was it that good of a win that he can deserve a spot?
It's one very important thing about the Grand Prix, how many spots will be available. If it's 8-man tournament or a 16-man tournament, if 16-man tournament Grand Prix, if it would be, I would see for sure Nakagawa. If 8-man, I don't think so.
I feel like they're going to do 16. I feel like they have enough people to do a 16. Whether those entirely all 16 people should be in it, that's a different story. I think if they don't put him in, I think if you want to do like a contender spot, I think an interesting match would be between him and Dark Shirakawa, Recruiter Shirakawa.
Oh yeah,
that would be a fun and interesting match between him and Dark Rikuto Shirakawa.
In terms, especially from a stylistic point of view, if they haven't put in all the brackets or they haven't even done that yet, I think that's a fight. I think for some spots they should. If not, they should definitely have like contender spots. There's people who will definitely be in it. People like Yutaka Saito, Azakura, and others who will definitely be in it without shout Hagiwara. But I think they definitely need to have like a fight between two guys who are either not as tested or don't have that much Rizin fights to kind of fight out to see who should get a spot. What do you think about that?
Basically, what you're trying to say is, Andrew, is prove somebody is Rizin worthy before getting into a big Grand Prix tournament or a big fight card.
Yeah, I think they definitely need to do something like that.
Maybe some kind of spots in a reserve match. This is also an idea, and it also depends about the availability of spots. If the foreign fighters will be able to enter Japan or not.
I think if they have if they can get foreign fighters, let's say they do 16. If they can get foreign fighters, most of these people who I'm saying who you would have in a fight for a contender spot in Japan aren't getting in at all. I think they're going to show if they can get in any foreigners without any issues, they're going to easily start picking foreign fighters to be in those spots. They want to get those foreign fighters so badly, and the tournament would be a great time to introduce back or get some new foreign talent in there. Yeah, that was Rizin Trigger second from Ekopa Arena, Shizuoka.
Ekopa Fukuroi, Shizuoka, Japan.
Daniel, did you have a fight of the night? And if you had two standout performances, who would you give them to?
Okay, so I would like to award definitely Hikaru Yoshino, definitely Sora Yamamoto. From more I don't know how to say. These are awards that are not obvious because of course Kleber had really good performance. But he did not shook us because he won by a submission and he had some troubles, but finally at the end of the day he won. Kazuma Koramoto, very explosive performance, but we knew what he is able of, and that a bit less obvious, single performance, I would say Yoshino and Sora Yamamoto.
Gotcha.
About fight of the night, Takeshi Stallone.
Chris, you sir?
Well, considering the fact that I fell asleep through the main event, it is now going to be my duty to watch the main event of that fight. Of that Rizin Trigger 2 card before even thinking about Rizin Landmark coming up this upcoming weekend. Well, actually next Sunday, which is around 4 a.m. Eastern time, our time, Andrew, or 5 a.m. Eastern?
Yes, 5 a.m. my time, and an absolutely insane time.
Yeah, of course, of course. So my job, I mean, to hell with the fact that I got a wedding to go to next weekend. I mean, this upcoming weekend. My job is really going to be to watch the damn Sasaki versus Koike fight. But still, though, when it comes down to the rest of the card, seeing the fact that I did not see the main event, I would say that my fight of the night was Sora Yamamoto knocking out Suguru Ni. And that would obviously be my knockout of the night. My second fight of the night would happen to be Sasada getting knocked out by Mountain Ryugo.
Interesting. Good choices. Yeah. Sora Yamamoto knockout, absolutely beautiful. What else? 34 seconds. What else is there to say? And especially because he's finished almost all fights but one, and he's only 21. He's definitely has I think he's definitely going to be staying in Rizin for quite a while. And also Kazuma Kuramoto's domination over Kenji Kato was also just amazing as well. And Fight of the Nights, Takeshi's still on. What else? There's nothing else that even comes close to that. And just right now, it's one of the best MMA fights this year in general. Unfortunately, I had to be on this card because I don't think a lot of people. I think there was only maybe 10 non-Japanese people who were up watching this card, because whenever I was just following the hashtag, it was just you, Daniel, me, and CJ, and somebody else. It was Jack Wan on as well, and Jay.
I mean, obviously, I was up watching it as well, but I wasn't active on social media, and I was basically talking with Jack Wannon about that. And y'all can check that out on knockdownnews.com tomorrow morning.
Yeah, so yeah, we were it was only maybe 10 people at most that speak English that were talking about the show, and it was really,
I would like to say that due to my Twitter activities and articles, news about the Rizin, we was able to bring some couple new guys, a couple new Rizin fans from Poland. So maybe it will be a bit bigger community in my country, because me and Jan Niwiński in Twitter, he has alias Miszonowski. So we was the two guys that were watching the Rizin Trigger live. In my opinion, why? Because of the name power, it's obvious, and the fact that it was the Wednesday.
Well, that's the other thing as well, Chris. This is a weekday for us, school day for us, work day for some of us. So that's why. And also, here's the other thing as well. So Rizin, whenever they have a show the week of, they always put a thread on. I think the Rizin official account does the thread on
Reddit.
Yeah, Reddit MMA, r/MMA. Only 25 people were posted in that. They didn't even have a live thread for that. A lot of people didn't even know this show was actually happening. It was
probably because of the fact that it was on a weeknight. I mean, it was on at midnight Eastern time, which was 11 p.m. Central, late Tuesday night in my time zone and the rest of the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
But still, it's crazy that this fight was even happening and it got low engagement like that. But I think if it would have been put on a weekend and not on a holiday weekend in Japan, I mean, not in the middle of a week in Japan, which is on a holiday, I think that it would have gotten more buzz.
As it happened during the Emperor's birthday, which is a national holiday for Japan. So obviously a lot of people weren't working. So I definitely think that they're banking on that a lot of people would come. It was probably was cheaper to book a show, an arena on a weekday. And now that you don't have a lot of people working, you have it on a time where people can go to the show and not have to worry about work. So it's but yeah, it definitely did hurt the international scope
Obviously, the Trigger series is not designed for international audience. The first and primarily target group are Japanese, are local people, so it wouldn't be a surprise.
Oh yeah. Daniel, Jakshimesh or Jenkui. That's what.
Dziękuję.
Jenkuya. Thank you for joining us. Please plug everything you're doing, MMA wise, KSW. Go right ahead, sir.
Could you repeat?
Oh, sorry. Can you go ahead, plug everything you're doing for MMA?
Oh, okay. Okay. So follow me on Instagram. You easily find me. It's not a difficult thing. Dziubicki. I'm also writing in the best Polish kickboxing site, madfight.pl. We have all results from Rizin, from Rise, from K1, from One. I'm also writing about MMA, Japanese MMA, mainly Rizin in MMA.pl with my partner Jan Niwiński, Miszonowski on Twitter. Also, I'm doing the commentary for the lots of kickboxing and MMA shows, including One Championship, including HFO Kickboxing from Poland, the best pro kickboxing from Poland. Also, King of Kings and Fusion and a couple other promotions. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to join you in a Rizin Trigger second recap.
I gotta ask about the whole commentary thing. Do you think that if given the opportunity, do you think that you'll ever get a chance to do Rizin commentary in Polish? Because I know this harkens back to the whole first show thing that Rizin had when you had commentary in Russian and Chinese and Spanish and English and Portuguese and all these other languages. But if given the chance, if the people at Rizin basically said, hey, we want to do commentary in Polish, do you think you'll ever get that opportunity?
Someone has to have an idea of bringing the TV rights, Rizin TV rights to Poland right now, because of the lack of the international fighters. There's no recognition as a big promotion in general in Poland for Rizin, and this is the main problem, because we know that there were some Polish fighters, Szymon Bajor, Hanna Gujwan, Justyna Chaba. So it was not a problem to bring Polish fighters to Rizin, but right now, when there's Japanese only shows, it's more hard to give an idea to people that are responsible for bringing the TV rights to the station and stuff like this. I hope that it will change shortly, because we are working hard to make Rizin more recognizable name promotion in Poland, but I think it won't happen this year. It's the thing that I would like to ask the Sakakibara or Shingo, if they will be more open for a domestic TV broadcasters, and how to take a TV rights to the Rizin abroad, outside of Japan, or if they will only do the pay-per-view for an international audience, because I would like to tell you that the Polish Sports National TV wanted to bring glory to Poland. but they won't bring them because Glory says that their business model is only a pay-per-view, and because of this, they won't sell the rights to the domestic TV broadcasters. Maybe this is the same thing with Rizin, maybe not.
Yeah, and that kind of sucks for Glory because before, obviously, the pandemic, they used to do a hell of a lot of shows in the United States. Obviously, it was their second home. Half of the people were ex-WWE people or ex-Big Four major sports people. And now they're basically doing their events, or at least still trying to do their events out of Holland, the Netherlands.
Yeah.
So
in the Belgium.
It's hard for them to even try and get a footing in the rest of Europe because, you know, they do their shows out of the Netherlands and Belgium right now.
Speaking about the Glory, you know, they are so they are, you know, all over on a pay-per-view business model, but before the, you know, I would say changing ownership, they had some TV deals in some countries, including Poland, but they had changed the ownership. It's, you know, creative. I don't know how to say. They have changed the ownership, but not in practice.
Right. They haven't changed.
You know what I'm saying about, yeah. Right now, this is the brand new company on the papers, on the books, in the books, and they don't have these deals from the past. It's not valid anymore.
Understood. Well, hopefully they can get that situated, and hopefully Rizin will give y'all the opportunity, you guys in Poland, to commentate some of their shows, because I know you want to obviously do that. But still, that's about it from us for now. We don't know if we're going to be doing a show before Rizin Landmark next week. It'll most likely be after, and it'll probably definitely be before Rizin 34 takes place on March the 20th. But hey, if we don't have anything set up, we'll definitely put that over on Twitter at We Are Rizin Pod, WeAreRizinPod, all in one word. Or you can pretty much point your directions and your quotes, thoughts, and comments to at A Benja1 Andrew Benjamin. And as for you, Daniel, you are on Twitter at Dziubicki, which is DZIUBICKI, right? Right?
Yes, indeed.
Okay. And obviously they can check you out on there. They can check me out on Twitter and Facebook as well. Well, actually, no. On Twitter, I am at ChrisGary92. On Instagram, I am at ChristianGary1992. And of course, you know, if you want to follow what I do, Focus Fights at Focus_Fights on Facebook. No, at Focus_Fights on Twitter. Damn it. At Focus Fights on Facebook and Instagram. And hopefully when we get FocusFights.world up and running, we'll get that going. And we're going to probably get the, what am I saying? We're getting the podcast up, Focus Fights Audio. You can find it everywhere, but it's primarily on anchor.fm, so you can enjoy it. Other than that, I am done. Andrew, I know that you probably want to close this show out. I'm going to try and go ahead and make your job a hell of a lot easier. But still, though, for Daniel Dziubicki, for Andrew Benjamin, for the fight fans who enjoy what we do here, I am the Chillmeister, Chris Gary, saying peace, my peoples, in one love world. Protect yourself at all times. Support and stand for Ukraine, because fuck Vladimir Putin and Ramzan Kadyrov. And more importantly than all that, We thank y'all for enjoying the We Are Rising podcast, and we are glad you are a part of Rising Fan Nation because, let's face it, we'll never take you for granted. I wish I could basically pull out the Lee Hart soundbite, but unfortunately, we're desperately out of time. And the tape machines are, in fact, rolling. So, yeah. Peace. Talk to y'all later.